welcome to another Read Aloud. Today we are going to be reading chapter 18. We are already more than halfway through the book. Your thinking question for this chapter is, what do you think Mavic and Aurella should do to find Morella? Because she hasn't shown up yet. So do you think they should just keep going? Do you think they should look for her? What do you think they should do? And we are going to go ahead and get started. Chapter 18. How Mavic and Aurella kicked butt. The next morning, they packed up in record time and continued trudging north. It was strange that something as scary as running for their lives through the forest had become routine. Life used to be so simple. Sure, things had been tough growing up, but she always had a safe place to sleep and safe arms to run to. Instead of dwelling on the past, she distracted herself by watching the birds flit from tree to tree, singing as they went. It made her heart ache to see creatures so utterly free. It was such a childish thought, but at the moment, she wished that she was a bird, so she could fly away too. It wasn't until Mavic started laughing that Aurella realized she'd been humming out loud. "What?" she asked defensively. "Trying to join the bird choir?" "Birds don't have a choir. They sing whatever they want, whenever they want, and so do I, so leave me alone." Mavic held his hands up. All right. No making fun of the wannabe bird girl." "I thought I was the creepy wolf lady." Shouting voices disrupted their playful banter. They looked at each other, half worried, half annoyed at yet another disturbance. Mavic motioned behind a tree, and Aurella joined him, frowning and straining to hear. The shouting voices were faint, not loud enough to know what was being said, but whatever it was did not sound inviting. A minute later, a crowd of people burst through the trees. There were dozens of clankers dragging distraught women and children through the forest in chains. The prisoners wailed and shouted in desperation, "We're innocent! I never did anything! I promise I'm not a witch! Where's my mommy?" Aurella covered her mouth in horror. So many innocent people captured because of her. The puzzling thing about it, though, was that they were heading deeper into the forest, not out toward the city. Aurella peeked further out from behind the tree and gasped. Just a stone's throw away were two upright posts on either side of the platform, connected by a crossbeam. A gallows. Suspended from the center pole were 5 nooses, swaying threateningly in the breeze. Mavic pulled her back behind the tree, his eyes wide in fear. "What do we do?" Aurella mouthed. "We have to help them." "Let's do it then." "All right, Ella," he whispered urgently, as the clankers sent 5 women up the stairs to the platform. "Let me take them by myself first. Fight like crazy if someone finds you, but I want you to stay safe as long as possible." "No way, Mavic. We do this together or not at all. What are you worried about? Haven't I proven myself yet? I'm not just a little girl. I can do this." Mavic sighed and nodded. "You're right. You're not just a little girl. You're Aurella." She grinned. "I'll take the clankers. You go free the prisoners, all right?" Aurella nodded. "On the count of 3, we attack. You ready, elf?" Aurella's heart began pounding like a drum. 1. Her breaths came out faster and shorter. 2. Sweat beaded down her neck. 3. They shot out from behind the tree. Mavic barreled toward the platform as a clanker tightened the last noose around the last woman's neck. Another clanker pulled a lever, and part of the platform gave way. Just as the nooses pulled tight, Mavic shouted, his hands a flurry of movement, and the rope snapped in half. The women screamed as they fell to the ground. Aurella stood dumbfounded as a horde of clankers tackled Mavic. She couldn't see him, but could tell he was putting up a beastly fight. She wanted so badly to intervene. He was fighting almost 10 to 1, but she needed to free the prisoners while the clankers were otherwise occupied. Then, Aurella remembered a way she could provide some backup while she freed the women and children. "Alfie, I need your help!" she shouted, cupping her hands around her mouth. "Bring the whole pack! There are invaders in the forest! Chase them away! Protect Mavic! Aurella had no idea where the pack was in the forest, or if they'd even heard her, but eventually they would come, and Mavic would be taken care of. He was a powerful guy. He'd be all right for a couple of minutes. She ran to the prisoners to free them from their bonds, but they were not alone. 3 clankers stood guard. They looked very young, probably only a year or 2 older than Mavic. She guessed they'd been given guard duty since it was the job that required the least strength and skill. Hopefully, that would make them easier for Aurella to deal with. "Clankers, I'm the witch, and you see me running back to the city. Follow me!" The plan at first looked to be working. They all ran a couple of steps after the illusion, but Aurella had underestimated these young clankers' competitiveness. It also probably didn't help that 2 manipulators were nearby, making all the humans around them feel anxious and defensive. The 3 clankers all wanted to catch Aurella first, and started a fist fight right there in front of her while her illusion ran off toward the city. One clanker took a sudden swing at his neighbor, who fell to the ground. Another one broke that clanker's nose. They were quickly in a tangled heap of fists and grunts of pain. One of them was thrown into a tree and fell to the ground. Another one was punched from behind, and his hard head knocked out the boy in front of him. Aurella tried to find a way through the fight to free the prisoners. She dived between one of the clanker's legs and in the same movement snatched a ring of keys from his pocket. "I can't believe that worked," she thought. Aurella raced to each of the women trying to unlock their handcuffs. Most of them were too scared of her to allow her to come near them. "She's the witch!" they screamed. "Shut up, I'm trying to help you," Aurella shouted. She succeeded in freeing 2 little girls who ran away screaming, but the unruly prisoners made it more and more difficult to set them free. While trying to uncuff a teenager, a woman kicked Aurella in the face, and she fell to her back. She groaned and spat blood from her mouth. "Ella!" Mavic shouted fearfully. She didn't have time to turn around. Fuming with anger, Aurella sprung to her feet. "I'm trying to help you, stupid people! Now stop fighting me, or I'll turn you all into a pile of moldy potatoes!" The prisoners froze, eyes wide with fear. "Thank you!" Aurella shouted gratefully, and ran to each one, unlocking their cuffs. Not one of them looked back as they sprinted wildly away. Their unpredictable behavior toward her was difficult to deal with. One woman hastily thanked her, and then the next woman slapped her face. Too angry to respond, Aurella continued down the line. Someone grabbed her waist, and she almost kicked them in defense before she realized it was a sobbing little girl, probably about 5 years old. "Get out of here!" Aurella shouted. "You're not safe!" "I'm scared! I don't know anyone! Let me stay with you!" she bawled. "You do realize I'm a witch, right?" The little girl nodded against her stomach. Aurella's heart broke for her. "I'm sorry, but you're not safe with me. You need to get out of here." The little girl continued to cry. "Hey!" Aurella called to the women she'd freed, sprinting to the city. "Someone take this little girl!" Most of them kept running, but one woman reluctantly turned around and sprinted back. She yanked the screaming girl away, shoved Aurella, and then ran away. "Really?" Aurella grumbled. "Hey, let us go, witch!" a woman shouted. Aurella bit back an angry retort and continued down the line, freeing women and children of all ages. She was surprised to find 2 boys, brothers by the look of it, that looked about her age. They spat in her face. She suppressed the urge to retaliate by making them kiss each other. When she finally made it to the last woman, she sighed in relief. She wiped the blood from her nose and ran toward Mavic to help him. At least 5 men lay unconscious at Mavic's feet, but he was losing ground. He was bleeding from his head and appeared to be limping. He caused a tree branch to crush a few clankers, but still more held him back. Just as Aurella made up her mind to manipulate all of them to fight each other, she heard a haunting, drawn-out howl from the forest. Alfie and his pack sprung through the trees and leapt into the horde of clankers. They growled and barked menacingly, showing their terrifying fangs. The pack created a half-circle around the clankers, separating them away from Mavic and Aurella. Then they leapt forward, sending the clankers running toward the city, screaming like Mavic would be if his precious wanted poster got ripped. One clanker was too stubborn to run away. Mavic kicked his face, Aurella made him fall to the ground, and Alfie bit his thigh. The three of them stared down at the man until he found the sense to run after his colleagues. Aurella quickly scanned the area for more enemies. The wolves came back together and stood in front of her. They barked at the trees until there were no more clankers in sight. Then they turned around and waited for Aurella to tell them what to do next. Amazingly, their tails were already wagging, and their tongues lolled out to the side of their mouths as if they expected a large bone. "Alfie, you and the pack go rest up. We'll call you if we need you." The mangy alpha wolf let out a satisfied howl in response and led the other wolves back into the forest. Mavic doubled over and clutched his thighs for support. Before Aurella could say anything, he held up his hand and wheezed, "I'm fine. Just give me a minute." "Mavic, you need to rest," she argued. "I'm fine. Just let me catch my breath." "No, Mavic. You think pushing yourself too hard is going to achieve anything? What good are you awake if you're just going to end up passing out on me?" "I'm not going to sit down and take a little cat nap in a place where a bunch of clankers come to hang people. And what about those guys?" He pointed at the clankers that Mavic and Aurella had knocked unconscious. "You think they're just going to invite us to a cup of tea when they wake up? Maybe have a beer with them at the local tavern?" "Mavic, don't be an idiot. I'll keep watch. I'll make us invisible and inaudible until they wake up and leave. They'll never suspect a thing." "Oh, so you want me to sit around and sleep while you stay up and drain your energy? Not likely, Ella. We need to get out of here and find Morella as soon as possible. She's the only one who actually knows what she's doing." "She does? Then where is she?" "I don't know. Maybe she's in trouble. All the more reason to find her." Aurella sighed. "Fine. We'll go to the nearest city and find Morella and hope we don't die in the process." "Gosh, someone's a ball of sunshine." Aurella stuck out her tongue and marched in the direction the prisoners had fled. "Hang on. Let me fix you up." Mavic caught her shoulder and spun her around. Then he knelt before her and gently took her face in his hands. "Gosh, they really got you there on your chin. What happened?" "Someone kicked me in the face." "What?" "It wasn't even the clankers," muttered Aurella. "It was someone I set free." "You should have made them pee their pants, or cluck like a chicken and then fart. That's what I'd do." "I don't doubt that, bonehead." He hovered one hand over her chin, and the other spun and whirled until the skin on her chin crawled and itched, feeling like bugs burrowing into her. Aurella tried to stop him from healing her and using up his energy, but he held onto her face and wouldn't let her go. Then the sensation stopped, leaving a slight tingling feeling like the ghost of an itch. He did the same thing to the giant gash on his own head. His shoulders sagged slightly, but he got to his feet and began limping forward. Aurella jogged to catch up to him. "Mavic, what happened to your foot?" "It's nothing. I just landed on it weird. It's fine." "Why don't you just heal it?" "It's a sprain. It would take too much energy. I'll fix it later." "You're such a guy. It would be smarter to fix it now and rest before we left." "There's no time. Let's just go." He limped ahead. "Mavic!" He turned around. "Look, Ella, the longer we stay in the woods, the more clankers are going to come swarming after you. Are you forgetting that we're manipulators? They can feel it when we're near. They'll keep sending more and more into the forest until they find and capture you. I'm not going to sit around and wait for that to happen. At least in the city, We'll have a bunch of people to blend in with. And then we can find Morella, who hopefully has a better plan than us. We have a plan? Yeah, don't die. You're right. We need Morella. Mavic turned back around and limped forward. Other than the occasional grimace, he uttered no complaint. What is the nearest city anyway? Hemlock. The clanker's armor had the Hemlotian symbol on the right shoulder. Aurella's stomach dropped down to her toes. Are you sure? How do you even know what their symbol is? Mavic looked down at her and smirked. I'm not a complete idiot. I paid attention in school sometimes. He kept walking without another word. Aurella reluctantly followed him through the thinning trees toward the worst place she could imagine. Hemlock, the heart of Dovis. And that is the end of that chapter. The next chapter is chapter 19. Mavic has a crush. We'll have to figure out more about that next time. All right, so your thinking question is, do you think they should go looking for Morella or keep traveling through the forest? What would you do in this situation? And I will see you guys next time for our next read aloud. Thanks for joining in again.